trying something different today using Adobe Podcast along with the wireless lavalier mic and the phone. So let's see how this turns out, because if this works really well, then it means that for folks who are content creators, you can do more than one thing at a time, as long as you're safe and aware of your surroundings. So in today's episode, Cathy asks, what do we think the implications of ChatGPT are on the rest of the year? And that's an impossible question to answer. Here's the thing. I would like for us to stop referring to that specific product when we're talking about the applications of large language models, right? ChatGPT is a great tool, right? It's built on the GPT-3 model, which is by OpenAI. That is not the only large language model out there. In fact, there are many large language models, each that has their own applications, their own parameters. Elither AI made a whole bunch on their dataset, the pile. So large language models, when we talk about something like ChatGPT, it's like talking about Microsoft Word. Like, what are the implications of Microsoft Word? As opposed to, what's the implication of word processing, right? How is word processing going to change content creation? It sounds different, right? It sounds a little more broad. We saw in the news this past week that Microsoft is looking at integrating the GPT-3 model, the large language model, into its search engine, and especially into some of its products like Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. This is a really good idea. Right? This is a really good idea because when you're being creative, even nominally creative inside the office and stuff, we've all had that experience when you're sitting down to write something and you're like, I don't know what to write. I don't know what to put on this slide, and so on and so forth. And that's where a large language model is a really good idea to have available to say, what should I name this presentation? Well, hey, let's take a look at all the notes and distill down some title suggestions, right, to name this presentation. Or I've written this chapter of this book in my word processor, and like, what should the chapter summary be, right? For those people who write serial pieces of fiction, choosing your summary, choosing your sort of snippet for promotion, really difficult. If you're creating content and you want promotional material from it, this is something that we're seeing a lot of tools starting to explore, where you give it your content and you say, make me some social posts, right? Make me something that I can use to put on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, and it will generate those things. And those are really good applications of large language models as adjuncts to the creative process. And I think that's an important part. It's an adjunct to the creative process. That means it's not doing the work for you. Well, I mean, it kind of is. It's not building the main corpus of the work. It's building all the promotional stuff around it. And let's face it, a lot of people who are really good creators, right? Authors, filmmakers, musicians, many of them don't like making promotional material, right? Many of them don't like pimping their stuff. They feel awkward about it. Well, what if the machine just does it for you? Right? So instead of trying to struggle to make some promotional content, the machine does it for you. Hey, here's the tweets you need to promote this thing. That's a great use of this technology. That's a great use of large language models. So that's what I foresee as being the useful use cases. There's a lot of novelty uses for these large language models. One of my personal favorites is meeting note summarization. I will feed a long transcript of 20-25 minute call and say, give me meeting notes and action items out of this. Now I have a whole prompt written down to make sure it behaves the way I want it to behave. But in doing so, it dramatically shortens the amount of time I need to get action items out of a call, particularly if it was a long call and I don't remember everything. It's a great way to summarize it. So are there going to be other applications? Of course. Right? We see all sorts of things like actual conversations. I saw a piece of news this morning on how someone was using it to, what did they say? They was using it to test for mental health stuff, experiments in a controlled laboratory setting by qualified professionals to see if these bots could act as therapy adjuncts, right? Not not replacing a therapist, because the liability on that alone would be impossible, but as a supplement to regular therapy. So that's where I think we're going with these things. It's going to be interesting to see how it turns out. One of the big questions right now that was announced in the OpenAI Discord was, hey, we're thinking about commercializing this. What should the pricing be? What should the model be? And a lot of people pitched their ideas in, but the era of this stuff being free is coming to a close very fast. So if there's a lot of things you want to get done with it now, get it in if you don't have the budget. It's probably not going to be expensive, right? OpenAI's regular pricing is surprisingly affordable. It's like 2 cents, I think, per 1,000 tokens. So if you put in a 1,000-word essay, it'll cost you, two pennies to process that thing, to generate that much token data. And we see with ChatGPT in particular that it doesn't seem to take into account the input length nearly as much as the regular GPT-3 model does. So you can put in really long prompts, and you should, to get results out of the system. So how that changes once they start charging for it, we don't know. But it will not be free forever. It will not be free even for a while. It's that research phase, I believe, is coming to a close. I don't think OpenAI expected it to be the huge hit that it was, but they're smart folks. They got a bunch of doctorate degrees and things. They know that they've got a hit on their hands and they need to capitalize on it sooner rather than later. Anyway, thanks for the question. Talk to you soon.
If you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.